Hello, fellow rebel capitalists. Hope you're well. Unfortunately, I'm not doing that well this morning. Why? YouTube is taking down my channels at a very rapid rate. Uh, they're not taking down videos, they're taking down entire channels. And I haven't had the time to go through the appeal process on all of them. But the ones that I have tried to appeal, they have been denied. And so that means that YouTube is permanently taking down these channels. So are they going to take down this channel by the end of the day? Honestly, I don't know. I hope not. But when I try to think through why they're taking down my other channels, the only conclusion I could come to, and hopefully I'm wrong, is that it's just they don't like me. I mean, I try to put myself in their position. I try to steel man what could possibly be their argument. And I don't know what it is other than they don't like George Gammon. And they just don't want me on the platform. Again, I hope I'm wrong. Hope I'm wrong. But let's go through kind of what's happening. And then at the end here, I'll let you guys know how you can help me out. I see a few people in the chat talking about Rumble. Absolutely. That's kind of what I'm going to be thinking about this weekend as far as how to, do both. A lot of people within the space, Russell Brand, as an example, Viva Fry, they do both very, very well. So that's probably the direction that I'm going to go. But I'm going to have to do a lot of thinking over the weekend, and we'll see how this plays out. I mean, even if they don't take down this channel, the fact that they've they've literally taken down 5 of my channels just this morning. 5. So even if they don't take this channel down by the end of the day, you're still living in that zone where you're just walking on like you don't know when they're just going to send you that email saying, oh, sorry. And I guess where I should start here is going through the process that YouTube explicitly states they have for removing a channel. And for those of you who aren't YouTubers or content creators, you might not know how this works, but I think that's a very good place to start. So I haven't even pulled this up, Josh. I guess I could do so and share the screen real quick here just for the viewers. Let me I'll just go over let's see, strike policy YouTube. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share the screen. And so just for your information, guys, this is straight from YouTube. This is not George Gammon, guessing how it works. This is this is right from YouTube's page here, or Google, excuse me. So this is supportgoogle.com/YouTube/answer. Community guideline. Strike basics on YouTube. Community guidelines are the rules of the road for how to behave on YouTube. These policies apply to all types of content on our platform, including unlisted and private content, comments, links, posts, and thumbnails. This list isn't complete. If your content violates our community guidelines, your channel may get a strike. What happens if your channel gets a strike? Well, then they go through this process. They basically state how this is a warning. They say, we understand mistakes happen and you don't mean to violate our policies. That's why the first violation is typically only a warning to have. And again, let me read this. That's why the first violation is typically only a warning. Now, to be clear, before we move any further, I have never received a strike, 0 strikes on any of the channels that have been taken down. I have received 0 strikes. None. So without warning, which YouTube says is their policy, they're removing my channels. And I've tried to appeal, not all of them, but the ones that I've tried to appeal, I'll be doing all of them, obviously. But the ones that I have tried to appeal, they have denied the appeal, oddly, within minutes, which is weird because I don't know how they watch my content. And then it's almost like they're not even reviewing the content that I'm appealing. Imagine that. So then they say optional policy trainings, first strike, talk about what this means, second strike, and they say the third strike. And keep in mind, it's not that you just get 3 strikes. You have to get 3 strikes in the same 90-day period. And then they say this may result in your channel being permanently removed. I mean, what to do when you get a strike? How about telling me what to do when I don't get a strike, I don't get a warning, and my channel is just permanently removed? For some reason, Google doesn't have any instructions on that one. Imagine that. So that's, I think, where we need to start the conversation here. And we need to start the thought process is understanding that YouTube's policy is to, and now they do say in there, I didn't get to it, but they do say that occasionally they will take down a channel, but that's if they said for a legal reason. So if the government is suing them, or if the FBI demands that they take the channel down, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I can't imagine that the FBI, maybe Trump is pissed off at me for not liking tariffs. I don't know. But I can't imagine that that would be the case. So that's kind of the exception they have to the rule. So none of what my point is, none of what they are doing is applicable to their explicitly stated policy for what happens if a creator breaks a rule within the community guidelines. So now let's go over to some of the emails that I'm getting from YouTube. And Jeff or Josh, you can go ahead and it doesn't matter. I mean, it's my email, but I don't really see a reason why I should keep this hidden. So you can go ahead and share it. It doesn't matter. So here you see I got an email from Chris, but we've got just today. I don't know if I think I mentioned this, but maybe I didn't. Just today, just this morning, YouTube has taken down 5 channels just this morning. And yesterday or the day prior, they took down 1. So I thought maybe that's because it was the Russian dubbed channel. Obviously not. And so then I was thinking, okay, well, maybe I just said something on a whiteboard video that they didn't like, because those were the first channels they started taking down, were the George Gammon channels that were dubbed. And that's no longer a hypothesis, because they're taking down my Rebel Capitalist channels now as well. And then the next conclusion, I think, that would be logical would be, okay, George, well, maybe it's because these are dubbed and YouTube sees that as spam and they don't like that. Okay, well, I mentioned that several times within the appeals that I've done for the Russian channel that was now permanently removed. But what I want you to understand, guys, is let me just go to YouTube. is dubbing your content and putting it on different foreign language channels is not my idea. As an example, the largest YouTuber in human history is Mr. Beast. And here you go. Oh, that is Mr. Beast. Excuse me. That's his English channel. Here is Mr. Beast. Okay, what? Josh, does this not say Mr. Beast in Espanol?
It definitely does. You just need to click on his channel.
I am.
Huh. That is really weird. It definitely said Espanol.
Okay. I can't even fathom that they would be doing this to Mr. Beast, but let me do this. Here we go. So this is just one example. I don't know what went wrong there with that link, but this is, here you go, Mr. Beast. This is Mr. Beast in Espanol. He has 26 million, and he doesn't just do Spanish. He does several different languages. The exact same thing that I was doing. This is where I actually got the idea. I guess you guys can't hear it, but this is Mr. Beast's exact video. The only thing it is it's dubbed into Spanish and then put on a completely different channel that he calls Mr. Beast in Espanol. And I did the exact same thing. It was George Gammon in Spanish, or George Gammon Espanol. It was George Gammon in French, George Gammon in German, George Gammon in Russian, George Gammon in Mandarin. And it was the exact same thing with the Rebel Capitalist channel. Now you say, oh, well, that's Mr. Beast. He is who he is. Not really. There's several YouTubers, including Patrick Bet David, excuse me, that does the exact same thing. I think he's got PBD and Farsi, Josh. I know he's got several different languages, but it's literally identical, where you're just taking your whiteboard video or whatever it is, whatever piece of content that you've done in English, you're putting it into Premiere, Adobe, you're changing the language. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Josh, you can correct me on this, doesn't YouTube now have a dubbing component within their the back end editing?
Yeah, they do.
So YouTube gives you the option to do this in their back end editing. And so I have a hard time believing this is why they are taking down the channels. Now, what I first thought is, well, maybe they don't know this is mine. Maybe they don't know this is actually this is a production of George Gammon, the guy that's doing the original content. So I explicitly went over that in the appeal that I did with the Russian channel the other day. So they know, hey guys, it's George Gammon. And by the way, they have to know that anyway, because it's all under the same, it's under the same email, for heaven's sakes. So they already know that. But just in case, I don't know, it's somehow passed by a low-level worker there at Google, I made it blatantly apparent that this was from George Gammon, the guy that had the original content, and they still took down the channel permanently after I did the appeal, with no warning, with no strike, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one thing that would lead me to believe this has nothing to do with dubbing, and why, if it does have more to do with just George Gammon, how this channel and the George Gammon channel, the English channels, could be next. I sure hope not. I sure hope not, because there's been a lot of work. Been a lot of work. You know, I've done over, what, Josh, 4,000 videos on YouTube. It's a lot of hours, guys. And if you don't believe me, try making a YouTube video. Try making a YouTube video. It's extremely, extremely difficult. And anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But at the very least, even if they do leave the English speaking channels, which I think that's a big unknown right now, it puts me in a position where I really don't have a choice, because this is kind of a shot across the bow. And so I don't really have a choice but to try to figure out how to do kind of the YouTube and the Rumble thing simultaneously. And so, in the future, you guys are probably going to hear a lot of, if they allow the channels to remain, you guys are going to hear a lot of call to actions to follow me over on Rumble. So fortunately, I know the guys over there, and I've got a lot of friends who are pretty big on Rumble. So Fresh and Fit guys and Viva and Barnes. But let's keep trying to figure out what's going on here. So another reason I'm skeptical that this is just about the channels being dubbed into a foreign language is the fact that they, in some of their emails, have said, and let's open up this one. I haven't even opened this one yet. This is the Rebel Capitalist channel in French. Okay, so this one, they said, "Hi, Rebel Capitalist," in French. "We reviewed your content and found severe or repeated violations of our community guidelines." Now, to be clear, guys, I have never received a warning or a strike for this channel. Never, 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 never. So the question would be why? Let's assume that, I don't think I did, but let's just assume that I did violate one of their community guidelines. Why have I not received a warning? Why have I not received a strike? But to keep the focus on the dubbing for a moment, let's go to, here's George Gammon in French. Okay, let's see why they got this. Okay, that's more community guidelines. There's Rebel Capital's German community guidelines. Now here we go to George Gammon Hindi, and this is for misinformation. So it looks like what they're doing for the majority of the George Gammon whiteboard, and this is the irony too, for the majority of the George Gammon whiteboard videos that are on economics, for heaven's sakes, their rationale or the reason they're giving me is misinformation, because they have found severe and repeated violations of our misinformation policy on a whiteboard video on economics. So again, I would ask, why have I not been warned? Why did I not receive any strikes? Why is my channel just immediately removed? And here's part of the irony that I'm sure a lot of you can see as clear as day, is that going back to Google's policy, their explicitly stated policy for handling a breaking of the rule or the community guideline, this whole strike process, they are proving by what they're doing to me that this in and of itself is misinformation. YouTube is literally spreading misinformation as to how their community guidelines work. And the proof of that is they're removing my channels, ironically, for misinformation without giving me any strikes or warnings to begin with. So you see, I don't want to be too conspiratorial, but you see how if you kind of say, okay, these are the possibilities, That one, check. We can check that one off the list. We can check that one off the list. We can check that one off the list. We can check. When you check everything off the list, the only thing you're left with is YouTube just don't like George Gammon. And YouTube, there's someone there that's pulling some levers, whatever it is, they don't like me. And they just want my channel gone, and they don't feel the need to even go through the process that they explicitly state is their process. And then they throw out misinformation, they throw out community guidelines, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, to me, none of this makes sense whatsoever. And so to be clear, the community guidelines or me breaking or even me having misinformation, that doesn't make any sense, because I would have got a warning. I would have got a strike based on what they're saying, based on their own policies. And the AI, spam, that doesn't make any sense to me, because they know damn well that it is George Gammon. And there's so many other YouTubers out there, including Patrick Bet David and including Mr. Beast, that do literally the exact same thing. So you tell me in the chat if you can think of something that, based on the information that I'm giving you, and I'm not holding anything back here. Obviously, I'm being as transparent as possible. But if you guys can think of something other than they don't like George Gammon, you let me know. You let me know. Because I hope it is something different. I actually wish it would be misinformation or something like that, or a community guideline, so I could fix it. So I could just say, okay, it's just like the cerveza sickness. They never gave me a strike for that, but no, I don't think they did. I would have to go back. I'm 80% sure. Let me be as clear as possible. I'm 80% sure they never gave me a strike for that one. On the whiteboard, the English George Gammon whiteboard channel. But I know they demonetized videos. So that's why I started doing cerveza sickness to begin with, is because I wanted to be, I didn't want to rock the boat here. Look, I'm on their platform. This is their platform. I don't own this platform. So I can disagree with the rules all I want, but do they have the right to implement rules regardless of how subjective they are? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So if I want to be on their platform, I'm totally fine abiding by the rules. That's why I started saying cerveza sickness to begin with. That was my point there. So, YouTube, if you just tell me, if this isn't about the fact that there's someone at YouTube that doesn't like me, if this is just about the community guidelines, dude, just please tell me what I'm doing wrong, and I'll see if I can fix it. It's pretty basic communication at the end of the day. And I would like to remind YouTube that they are not what is important. The platform, the brand, that is not what is important. Because at the end of the day, if there are no creators, if there are no George Gammons, there is no YouTube. Period. End of story. So YouTube, I would encourage you to remember that. And whatever it is, whatever you're going to do with my channels, I would sincerely urge you to think this through, and at the very least, start being honest with the other creators on your platform as to what your policy actually is for removing channels. And be honest with them and forthright that your policy has nothing to do with strikes. It has nothing to do with warnings. And it has everything to do with whether or not you like the creator. That's it. That's it. So now what can we do about this? If you guys could do me a huge favor, if you're on Twitter, if you could, I've tweeted about this a couple different times. If you could possibly retweet that at mention YouTube, and then let them know what your thoughts are. I mean, I'm not encouraging anyone to be rude or use profanity or anything like that, but maybe tell YouTube your opinion of the channel. And if you have received value from the George Gammon channel or the Rebel Capitalist channel, just let them know that. And then you can also go over to Rumble and follow me over there. Let's pull that up here. Josh, just do a screen share for me. And fortunately, we're already set up over there. I don't actively promote this very much, as you can tell by the amount of subscribers that I have. But we do have these channels set up. So here, Josh, can you see this?
Yep, we can see it.
So we've got the Rebel Capitalist channel. This is right over on Rumble. And all you have to do is go to Rumble's homepage, just type in Rebel Capitalist, and it'll come right up. Or you can just do the same thing with George Gammon for the whiteboard videos. And it's this one right here with 389, or I'm sorry, 380, 3,890, basically 3,000. I'll just leave it 3,000. Okay. And so here are and we don't update it in real time, but obviously we're going to start doing that. And so and also too, if you don't have the time to go over to Rumble, or I don't know if you have to register or sign up or whatever it is over there, if that's too much of a kind of a hurdle for you, I totally get it, no problem. But if there ever comes a day when I don't show up on YouTube, or maybe not a day, but like an entire week or something like that, that there's just no live streams, or also notice there's just no whiteboard videos, I would strongly encourage you to check out my Twitter feed, because that's where I'll post, exactly what's going on in real time. And then the next step would be to go over to Rumble and see if there's videos that are being posted on Rumble routinely, but I have no videos being posted on YouTube. And that's how you know. Well, also too, I guess you'll know because you'll try to go to the Rebel Capitalist channel on YouTube and you just won't find it. Yeah, exactly. Someone's putting in the chat, the channels won't exist, right? So like right now, if I go to the channels I have or had, we just go to switch account. And so here's the George Gammon account, guys. You can see that. And here's the George Gammon French. You see channel removed. Here's George Gammon German, channel removed. Rebel Capitalist French, channel removed. George Gammon Russian, channel removed. That was the first one. For some reason, the Spanish is still up. I can't imagine that will survive the day. But, the main ones here, obviously, are the English channels. That would be George Gammon, Rebel Capitalist, and then Rebel Capitalist Interviews. So if one day you try to look at one of my, you look up one of my channels and it's just completely gone, where the day prior you could look it up easily, again, go to Twitter. I'll announce what I'm doing there. And then if you want to go over to Rumble and see videos there, that will tell you kind of what's going on with YouTube. It's unfortunate. It really is. Really unfortunate. Because, this hurts. It doesn't just hurt George Gammon. It hurts other creators, and it hurts YouTube at the end of the day. They're shooting themselves in the foot. So, and it hurts the viewers because they have less access to the type of content that they want access to. Too bad. It's too bad, but it is what it is. So, title's not clickbait here. I don't know if this channel will even be up at the end of the day. If it is, I'll do a live stream because we got a lot of probably more important things to talk about. such as what's happening with the economy and what's happening with interest rates and assets and whatnot. So hopefully, I'll be here at the end of the day. But again, in the interim, if you could help me out and kind of tweet this out or retweet or at mention YouTube, tell them your thoughts. And if you could follow me on Rumble, I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, make sure that you're standing up for freedom, liberty, free market capitalism, and standing up for free speech. And hopefully, we'll see you in the next video.